Welcome back to the laboratory. It's Chef Mark, and today we are talking pizza dough. If you don't know, I do a lot of events in our showrooms highlighting the Monogram Pizza Oven. So I make a lot of pizza dough. And when I make pizza dough, I don't measure it. I eye it out. So a lot of people have been asking me, how do you do that? How do you eye out something that typically is based on a recipe? So I'm going to show you today what I do to make my pizza dough. So I got some mise en place here. I like a metal mixing bowl. I got some flour, I got some salt, I prefer kosher salt, some extra virgin olive oil, some warm water, some yeast, and some rubber gloves. Let's get started. Okay, for the yeast, I like the Fleischmann's dry active yeast. What I like about this is that you can add it directly to the flour. You don't have to bloom it. It will bloom and start to add loft and rise right in the flour as you're mixing this. I like all-purpose flour. 00 flour, of course, is lovely, but it's expensive and hard to get. If you must have 00 flour and you just don't have it handy, take some of your all-purpose flour, put it in a food processor dry, and go ahead and just kind of whip it up with the blade. It will kind of break the flour up a little bit finer and help give you that texture. So I'm going to do 2 scoops. I'm not a big fan of measuring cups, so this is just a soup cup. 2 scoops of flour, 1 packet of the dry active yeast. The packets are so convenient for knowing you have the right amount. So I know this isn't a technical ratio, but I do 2 to 1. So if I'm making a double batch of this, I might do 2 of these and 4 scoops of flour. Salt, don't be shy on the salt. Really get that in there. And oil, I do about a tablespoon of oil. Extra virgin olive oil is great. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a splash of water. I usually just do water right out of the sink, but for the video purpose. And I try to put enough water in there that I can kind of see the water still moving around, kind of almost covering the top of the flour. And a rubber glove is very, very handy here. Okay, because it's going to be messy. Now, it's easier to add more add more water than it is to take out. However, don't get fooled. If your dough looks dry, the more you work your dough, the more it will hydrate. The more the water will become evenly distributed into the flour, and the wetter it will get. So I think the easy miss here is thinking, oh, I need a lot more liquid, and I do need some more liquid. But adding too much, and then if you add too much, then you got to add more flour to balance it out. So that was maybe another 2 to 3 tablespoons of water here. Again, this isn't really a recipe. It's really just mixing it together. So this is going to be great. I've got this kind of wet clump here, and I have this shaggy dough. And this is the point where I'm going to try to get all of this shag incorporated into the ball dough that I'm making. You of course can do this in a KitchenAid mixer or even a food processor, but I'm usually in a rush, and instead of having to clean more dishes, I just kind of mix this together by hand. Oh my gosh, we're gonna be perfect here. Okay, so see how I'm getting all that shag out of the bowl? And my hand is nice and clean too. That's another indicator that you have the right amount of liquid. Again, the easy miss being that it's too wet. You can add more flour if you need to. So now I have a nice incorporated chunk of dough here. Does need to be mixed a little bit more because I do still have some dry spots. And when I need, I push, fold, and turn. So I fold and turn, push, fold, turn, push, fold, turn. And I do this whole thing in the bowl if I can, just to help contain the mess, if there is any. Great. I don't need to mix this too long, and it already smells great. It's got a nice yeasty smell. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let this rise. So how long? Well, it depends on how warm or cold it is. It's cold in my laboratory today. It's wintry outside, so I'm probably going to let this rise for about 2 hours. And then we'll go ahead and we'll portion it out and I'll show you the next step. So let's Let this rest. I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap so that it doesn't get crusty on the outside. And I'm just going to let it rest for a couple hours. See you in a bit. Okay, we're back. It's been a couple hours. I went to lunch. I ran some errands. I did some shopping. Here we are. Our pizza dough has been resting, and you can see considerably more volume. And that's the yeast doing the work. So this is the primary fermentation. There's 3 kinds of leavening agents out there, and yeast being one of the easiest to work with because you don't have to change for elevation. Yeast will automatically adjust. It wakes up and knows, hey, I'm in Denver. Okay, and this is lovely. This is exactly what we're looking for here. So I'm not going to punch all of the loft out of this. I really do want to be careful here, and of course your hands are the best tool for the job when working with something like this. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to portion this down. I typically make 10-inch pies, and I can get about 4. 2, 3, 4. Okay, great. This one's a little on the small side, but that's okay. If you want to be very precise, it's 1 ounce of dough per inch. So if you're making a 12-inch pie, you're looking for about a 12-inch ball of dough. Some people might be 10, some people might be 14 ounces, but that's a good rule of thumb to get you started as far as portion size. So I'm going to ball this, and what I'm doing here is making a cage with my hand, and I want it to kind of stick on the bottom. And the idea being here that we get a smooth top. This is a little bit of a tricky thing to learn. Once you learn it, it's easy to do, but it's hard to get the feel for it. But what we're doing is seaming or balling, so all the seams are facing the bottom, so we get a nice smooth ball. Now once you're here, you can make these in advance. These can go into the refrigerator like this, maybe a greased pan. Overnight is great. They will raise a little bit in the refrigerator, but when you put them in the refrigerator, you slow down the fermentation and they're much less likely to kind of go crazy on you. If you leave them out at room temperature, that's great too, but they are going to puff up on you. So depends on a couple of things. So let's say you're a little low on time, definitely leave them out on the counter. Whereas if you're prepping ahead of time, then go ahead and put them in the fridge. Okay, so there we go. I got 4 nice ball doughs out of that about 2 cups, soup cups worth of flour. This one's a little on the small side, but these are pretty nice for the 10-inch pizza pan. And then just let me show you here. Now these need to rest for a little bit before you roll them out typically. If you don't let them rest when you go to roll them out, they'll snap back. And that's because the gluten has been overworked. Think of gluten as strands of rubber bands or protein strands that stretch and then they relax, and then you can roll the dough out. But if they've got tension on them, you go to roll it out, they're going to snap back. And that's also a sign that you've overworked your dough. Okay, just a little bit of flour. I always keep just a small quart container of flour kind of handy whenever I'm working. It's easier than pulling out the big old thing here. So I got my pizza pan, and when we're rolling, start in the middle, work your way towards the outside every time. Start in the middle, work out. Start in the middle, work out. So if you start round, you'll end round. Okay. And you can see how it's snapping back on me a little bit, and that would be because this hasn't rested. Even 30 minutes of resting would do the trick, but more is better generally. The other thing I like to do is the hand clapping method. This is clapping with one hand. So I clap with my left hand, take my right hand and spin. So my left hand is creating pressure on the crust, and my right hand is kind of stretching and pulling simultaneously. And I can go around a few times. It's pretty obvious where you started, because when you come back around to the start point, it'll be much thicker. Okay, that's another method. Sticking just a touch. I flip it over on occasion too. It's fine once you get it moving. And look at that. That's much easier to move now. And then finally, the last method for stretching dough is the back of the hands. So back of the hands, you kind of create a little tension with the knuckles. Give it a little flip and turn. Back of the knuckles. This is a little small to do that, but it's working okay. Okay, this came out beautiful. I'm very, very happy with this. Okay, here's my pie pan. No need to grease this. Okay, so what I will do if I'm having a pizza party is I'll go ahead and make up a few of these. So if I'm making, I don't know, let's say everybody's making their own individual pizza, you know, make 4, 6, 8, 10 of these, however many that you need. Then cover with plastic wrap, otherwise they will get a crust on top. Then at the last minute, it's time for somebody to make a pizza. They can simply take that off, maybe a touch more flour, finish rolling it out. It should just be a really quick 1-2 skadoosh to kind of get that completely rolled out. And finally, a docker. Don't go crazy with that, just enough to poke some holes in it. And what that will do is it will allow the gases to release so that it doesn't just bubble up. And then one last little piece of advice here when you're making pizza. I'm just going to set it here on the pan so I can show you. It's really important that you leave an outline for the crust. What the crust does is it keeps the pizza from sticking in the pizza, on the pizza pan or on your pizza stone, however you're cooking your pizza. Because if the sauce and the cheese spill over onto the pan, that's where it's going to stick every time. So it's really important to have a nice rim. Also, don't go crazy with the docker, just 1 or 2. I know kids love to go crazy with that and put a million holes into it because it's fun to play with. Yeah, this looks like a toy, right? Absolutely. So that's one of those things where if I have the kids doing it, I, 1 or 2 swipes, try to be precise with that. So that's it. That's how I eye out my pizza dough, how I roll the pizza dough, and how I get ready for a pizza party. So as I always say, there's no better demand than popular demand. So thank you everyone who requested this video. This is Chef Mark in the laboratory. As always, thanks for tuning in, and make sure, if you haven't done so already, that you click the subscribe button. I'll wait. Great. Thanks. We'll see you next time.